A warm welcome to all of you. Yeah.
Sure.
Morning everyone, Rishikesh Rajsi here from Shell, National Sales Manager in the lubricants business. I think my colleague Ashok is also here. Fantastic. So we have like so many SUs being represented from different parts of the country today. And without taking much time, so I would really like to call upon Mr. M.K. Sinha, Ministry of Urban Development, sir, to please grace us. Dr. Dario Hidalgo, WRI Global Director, Ravi Gadipalli, Shakti Energy Foundation, Mr. Amit Bhatt, Director, Transportation, WRI. And just for those of you here, we really would like to welcome Sam Adams. He was the ex-mayor of Portland, so we are really grateful to have him here today to get his insight as well. Thank you. Over to Amit.
Good morning, everyone. I think Mr. Garg, the Managing Director of UTC, is on his way. In the next 5-7 minutes, he'll be joining us. And so, before we officially start the this year's Talking Transit, let me again quickly brief you what Talking Transit is. And this year we are doing along with Connect Karo, our annual conference. So very quickly, a lot of it which we are talking about is happening because of the work which is done by the Urban Development Ministry. And we have Mr. Sinha with us who would kind of further elaborate on what the Urban Development Ministry is trying to do in terms of promoting especially bus-based transportation. So I think the first major impetus came, and most of us are really aware, happened because the Urban Development Ministry took leadership role in providing buses for city operation. I mean, you all know that in terms of the rules of the game, transport and transportation really belong to the Road Transport and Highway Ministry. But of very long time, the Road Transport and Highway Ministry has largely been concentrating on road building and maintenance, and therefore all the other ambits of transportation have been kind of either the heavy industry who takes leads in the vehicle space or the Urban Development Ministry. We started looking at urban transport in very focus, and that's where I think the first economic stimulus which was given to the heavy industries by providing buses, and that really kind of changed the game, especially what we see in our cities. So this was the first thing which the Urban Development Ministry came up with, the 15,000 buses for 60 cities, a part of the JNURM. And what we did as part from our side is that when these buses were given, they were really agencies like KSRTC, VNTC, DTC, who were really strong in terms of rolling out the service. But there were also cities which had just started buses, and they were really struggling on how to kind of do the planning, operations, and management. And from our side, we came up with this first guidebook called Bus Karo, and then we are now coming with the second guidebook also. The idea is to kind of document whatever happening is in India as well as globally, but also how we can use this learning to kind of further improve the operations. And when we launched this, we really said that it has to run like a program, and therefore from initial few trainings, we started this whole program called Bus Karo. The whole ambition of this program is to promote more than 50% more public transport share in our cities. And with this, we had 3 components of this. So what you see right now is the first one, which is kind of looking at Talking Transit, wherein we talk about public transport. Mr. Garg is with us. I'll request you please come up on the dais, sir. And I'll come to what we are saying. The second is mentoring transit, where cities when want to develop or want to implement certain things, we from our side will also help cities in implementing some of these initiatives. And learning transit was all about documenting case studies and kind of disseminating it for a larger audience. And then we had the second bus round funding which came up, and I think Mr. Sinha will kind of update us on the impact as well as what is the way forward for bus funding from the MOUD side. So Talking Transit is about biannual workshop. We do 2 workshops every year on various thematic maps, various themes. and we have a lot of partners with whom we have done these workshops before. So the first one where this whole program started was BMTC, and we were looking at how do we learn from BMTC in terms of leveraging land and how we can kind of use this learning to further improve the operation. That was the launch of and it was very well attended. First one was in 2012. The second one, and I think Jagdish Babu is here, he was very instrumental in kind of having this workshop with APSRTC on using driver training to improve fuel efficiency. And I think subsequent to this workshop, Hani, who was the super trainer, worked with us and other cities to further train the drivers and get really high mileage out of the bus operations. Third one we did with BEST in Mumbai, and again BEST has been doing a lot of work around feeders, station feeders, especially to suburban trains, and we kind of worked with them to see how best feeders can be designed with the help of BEST. And that was really interesting in terms of a lot of cities who are developing BRT and metro could kind of learn from this experience. The fourth one was with, again, KSRTC in Mysore, and KSRTC, as you all know, has a state-of-the-art IT facility, and we went there, and a lot of you were there to participate on how to kind of use IT, especially in kind of communicating with the passengers, but also to improving the operations. Fifth one, very interesting. It was probably one of its kind workshop where we did with Indore City Transport Corporation on basically looking at how do we brand, communicate, and market public transport, because this is very interesting. And Sandeep is here from Indore, and that was really interesting workshop to kind of look at. And they have done very nice branding and marketing around iBus, which is their BRT, to see how we can learn it further. Then we went to Bhopal and we did integrated transport. Bhopal, as you all know, has a bus service, has a BRT. It is also planning to integrate the informal transit, and the metro is also being planned. So they are really looking at developing integrated service, and that is what we did as part of this event. This was the last event, and this again was very interesting. Gurgaon, as you know, is suburb of Delhi. It has probably 50% of the Fortune 500 companies. Yet the city does not have a formal modern bus service. And when city decided to implement a modern bus service, we said, why don't we learn from people who have already done? So it was more of a co-creating a framework for bus service. And I'm happy to inform that SPV and all has been approved. The routing has also been agreed. And very shortly the city will have the city bus service as discussed in this common transit workshop. Yeah. In next 2 months they are launching the service. So this was the last about looking at how can we co-create a bus service. We are also doing maintain transit, and our staff has been working with many of you on various aspects of city bus operations. We have come up with this Bus Karo version 2, a case study. If you have the pen drives, you will have these learnings from India as part of the case study. We also come up with a kind of BRT, safety guidelines for bus corridors, and some of these things will also come in due course. So this is the program which we have been interacting with a lot of people all around in terms of trying to learn from them and also to see what we can contribute from our side. So this is quickly looking at today's program. Today's program is not co-creating a modern bus service as it is written. It is basically use of IT in improving the city bus service. And so apart from the opening session, we will first go into information technology and data collection. How can we use that? And we are very good experts in terms of giving the case studies. Then we will talk about standardization of data. We'll group activity. Tomorrow we have field visit. We'll go to DTC Control Center, and Mr. Minas is here, and maybe he will kind of help us around looking at the Millennium Depot. We will also have some work around TGI, which is some work around transport and governance initiatives. So that's been largely the framework. And so this is a brief what we are trying to do in next 2 days. And as we move forward, we would really kind of request your cooperation and participation so that a lot of learning that comes out actually translates into something which is tangible, and then probably we'll see it kind of implementing and happening in some of the cities where you have come from or some cities where you are working. So with this background, I would request if you can have some mics on. And do you have any learnings on what came out from bus funding? And second, is there a program to relaunch a similar initiative in the coming months and years?
Good morning to you all, please. It's my pleasure to be with you here, and it's really happy to see that people actually involved in urban transport in the cities are here. So it's a big effort. Don't have much time, so I'll just quickly brush on what Amit, the question which he posed. Topic actually is use of information technology modernizing city bus services. So we can use IT once we have a modern city bus service, or we have a city bus service at all. And as rightly pointed out, it was the first initiative of Ministry of Urban Development in 2009 that an effort was made to actually bring in a planned, organized city bus service in some of the cities. As you will all know that even now, most of the cities, they don't have organized bus service. So this was the first intervention, and which did bring in results in terms of having some sort of organization, or at least recognizing the need for having an organized city bus service in the city. The second intervention which came in the year 2013-14 was a sequel to the JNNURM1, which basically took forward some of the issues which had cropped up or which came to light in the first scheme, and which led to the Ministry of Urban Development actually promulgating the standards, the urban bus specifications, which I think was again a very major step. And during the standardization, we did realize that information technology is one particular component which can bring in a lot of efficiency and optimize the bus services the way we want. How we are going forward with the bus funding scheme, you might be aware, most of you are from the state governments and the STOs, that the JNNURM scheme has been closed, but a sequel to that, Amrut scheme has come, and the uncovered portion of the JNNURM bus funding scheme has been actually subsumed in the Amrut. So we are still funding the bus schemes in terms of actually providing a financial assistance to the state governments for procurement of buses. But apart from that, there are two flagship missions of the Ministry of Urban Development which has come up. One is the smart cities, and the other is the Amrut, which you are all very familiar with. And both these components, both these schemes have urban transport component. The smart city specifically talks about ITS, use of information technology for transport, and Amrut also has a component of urban transport, which includes bus funding, and we have been receiving a lot of proposals from the state government for actually funding the buses. We do have a plan of going forward where the focus would now be more on actually creating the infrastructure for running a good bus service. One of the realization, one of the feedback, one of the learnings from the bus service schemes, bus funding schemes have been that there is a need to have other infrastructure apart from the buses to effectively run the buses, which could mean your depot, modernizing the depot, having skilled manpower for that, efficient use and integration of ITS, integration of other modes of transport, having a holistic view at the transport itself, also increasing fuel efficiency, looking at alternative modes or alternative fuels for the bus services. So these are some of the aspects which is in a process of churning, which probably in the coming years we will see a new scheme where we have all these issues. So basically, it's going forward, starting with the bus funding scheme to really optimizing the bus services. Some of the very basic questions which has come during this churning of ideas in the ministry and with interaction with various STUs, I would like to share, and this is specific to ITS. With the UPS 2 specifications coming in force in the second bus funding scheme, we have realized of late that there is an issue of compatibility. The ITS providers, once they provide a system in a particular bus or a particular fleet of buses, and we find a need of retrofitting another application, because ITS has got very wide number of applications. So it is possible that we start with a few of the applications and then we go forward and try to retrofit other applications of the ITS. So we find there is a lack of compatibility. And there we have realized that the ITS applications used till now has been proprietary. So I think that is one of the major challenges, and most of you must be facing that. We have got complaints from the various STUs that this is an issue where the vendors are not willing to integrate, because and it's quite natural that that's a proprietary software, a proprietary application, and the vendors would not be wanting, because that defeats the marketing purposes. So new thought is that can we have an open source application? Can we take a step in standardizing the ITS infrastructure? I think that would be a major step if we are able to achieve some sort of a standardization. I would like to share with you that the automatic fare collection system which we have in the metros, these are called AFC gates, and these are again, as of now, these are again very much proprietary items. The cost of one gate is something like 6 lakh rupees. And the issue of having a mobility card, like you have the Oyster card, you have the smart card in Delhi, that smart card is very much integrated with the AFC, the automatic fare collection system. So once we go for a particular provider of the AFC, we are stuck with that technology. So there is a challenge when we want to actually integrate that smart card with the other services, other modes of transport. This is a challenge which we are facing right now, and Ministry has taken a step to nominate CDAC for developing indigenous standards for the AFC, which would be used not only for the metro but for the buses also, and for any other modes of transport. So this standardization of the AFC and the validators, this is a work which is going on. The CDAC has started the work, and we expect that in another year or so, we will be coming up with those standards. So the issue of open source or a proprietary application in the ITS is an issue which we need to debate. We are debating it in the industry, and I think we'll also be having a national level workshop where we'll be calling for the ideas and opinions of the various users. There are pros and cons of both proprietary and open source. But I think in a country like India, where there is going to be a proliferation, I see a very positive future in the organized city bus service in India. So in the Indian context, we need to have our own standards, which would actually go a long way in reducing the cost as well as increasing the efficiency of the bus service. Second issue, which also we have been grappling with of late in some of the organizations, is that how do you ensure sustainability of maintenance of this ITS system? You have a particular vendor who has provided you the ITS system, and then normally what you do is that for the maintenance you employ the same vendor. Now in the ITS world, in the world of information technology, you find that there is a huge churning going on where the technology gets upgraded very fast. The manpower, the personnel who are employed in a particular technology, they don't remain for more than 2-3 years. So over a period of time, you find that you've taken a particular application, particular technology, and you get stuck with that. And after 3 years, 4 years, you see a need to actually changing the entire equipment, the entire technology. So this is another challenge. I can share with you, I have worked with the railways for a pretty long time. When railways started with the central reservation system, the computerized reservation system, this was the issue which was faced by the railways. We did have a lot of vendors, and then we started in pockets, eastern, western, northern, southern zone. And this became such a huge problem that first how to integrate the various technologies into one, and then how to maintain that. That railways decided at the end that they should have an in-house institution to actually go ahead with that. So it was a decision, and which has actually paid, which has borne fruits also. So presently the Center for Railway Information System, it does the entire management and upgradation of the computerized railway information system. So I think second issue, which also we need to discuss, is that how do we ensure the sustainability of the maintenance of that technology? I mean, it's not like a cell phone, which we change every 2-3 years. For the IT system, once we have a IT system in place in the city, and mind you, this IT system talks about integrating all modes of transport. So how do you have a common technology which you are able to sustain and even maintain over a period of time, at the same time upgrade it for new requirements? That is the second issue. Third issue which I would like to flag before I close it, that ITS is not an end in itself. We look forward to achieving something. So apart from the issue of having an open source and then managing the sustainability of maintenance, do we also actually need to look at, okay, what are we actually achieving by this ITS? If we have a mixed traffic, if we have a dedicated traffic, for example, a dedicated right of way in the metros or a BRT system, it becomes very easy to have an ITS system, to have all the information and to become very user friendly. But in places where you have a very mixed type of traffic, where the traffic is very unpredictable, and I believe in most of the cities it is so, do we need to incorporate all the applications which are there in ITS whenever we go for an ITS? Can we also look for certain very simple solutions to sort of optimize the traffic, to optimize the traffic flow, to make it a more user friendly? One particular incident that comes to my mind is the Tiffinwalas in Mumbai. I mean, I might be sounding very outdated when I mention that, but why I want to mention that when the Tiffinwalas started their services, we didn't have any mobile phones. There were no mobile phones. There was no IT technology. But they achieved 6 Sigma quality. Everything was delivered on time to the right person, and there was complete customer satisfaction at that. There was no user complaint. So we also need to give a thought that what actually we are trying to achieve from the ITS. At the end of the day, the focus should be on the output, on the increased efficiency of the transport system, on customer delight, on optimization of the transport system, rather than having a state-of-the-art ITS. That is my personal view. With these words, I think I'll stop now. And thank you once again for having actually invited me for this.
Thank you, sir. And I think one of the most striking things which came out from the presentation was that MOUD is now striving forward specifically around open data and open data standards. And so I would then ask Dario, I mean, you have this whole global experience. Is this the same movement forward? So that's one. Second, do we know what are the impact of the benefits that we can get if we move in this direction?
Yeah, these issues that have been raised by the experience of the Ministry of Urban Development are also the experience of many properties around the world, many cities, many that are struggling with this. And the problem seems to be the problem, and I will put it in a very sarcastic way, what is the difference between kids and grown-ups? And usually is the cost of the toys. Grown-ups make a lot of decisions regarding these toys, and I call the ITS and all the applications toys, and we got really excited about these screens and control centers and data collection systems and fair collection systems, and we start receiving visits from many vendors, and vendors really show off really nicely, and we say, oh, we want this, we want that, we want all of this. And then sometimes we went into a bidding process, buy the toys, have the toys, and we don't know what to do with them. And that's our experience, not just here in India, in many places of the world. So the first thing to go about is thinking what you were asking, sir, what we want this for. What is the need? And that's the first thing to understand very well. There are 6 needs in terms of the transport system, particularly bus operations, transit systems that we need to cover. And the first is the planning need. ITS can help us a lot in data collection, in data crunching, in number crunching. We planners are used to very outdated ways of data collection in terms of OD, origin destination, occupancy. We usually use people with little cards and then try to, now we have the opportunity with ITS to get a lot of information using mobile devices. And there are applications out there, but the planning and understanding the user need is the first one. That's one application. The second application is user information. Getting the information of the system out to the people so the people have a better travel experience. And nowadays, we don't need really fancy stuff that we did need 10 years ago. We have the opportunity to give all the information in your pocket. And please grab your cell phone and show it to me. This has so much capacity already there. And most of us, even low-income population, is having access now to smart devices. So we don't need a really fancy NextBus thing. We need to develop applications that are very close to the people. And these type of applications, the best way to do it is if we open the data of the transit properties and let the developers do that for us. We don't need to invest that much in user information. We just need to create an opportunity for them to access the data. And there are extraordinary examples around the world, the city of Boston. I don't know, Sam, if Portland also opened the data, and it's just the people coming with solutions and not the city trying to do all of it. So that's the second function. The third function is fare collection. Actually, it's the lifeline of any transit system, not having leakage, having really good control on fare collection. And that's where the proprietary systems come into place. But there are extraordinary examples of open systems. The city of Mexico, the city of Sao Paulo have developed the standards, and the providers need to comply with them and not the other way around. You buy the fare collection system and then you need to adapt everything to the provider. So that's the third function, and it's very important. And the key there is that the city or the government owns the data structure. You don't need to own the technology, but you need to own the data structure. How you write, how you read the fare cards, mainly. And if you have that, you are able to have many providers coming at the same time. And what the city of Sao Paulo does is certify different providers, and at the end, all these different providers come. to the table, and it's not proprietary technology, which is very important. The fourth area is fleet management and control. And this is key also for understanding how the service is delivered. We had a really good experience with Indoor in that they have the data, but we're not using that data as it was possible. So with some support, we get the opportunity to look really into the data and see if the bus was providing the service or not, how many kilometers it was doing, it was on time or not. All these functions, ITS is perfect for that and needs to be done. And for the provider itself, the dispatching and crew scheduling to reduce cost in the provision of the service. 5 function is the internal telematics. Now all this equipment that we are buying, these buses, come with a computer on board that provides all the information so you can schedule the maintenance and understand really well how it is doing. I was surprised visiting some manufacturer that the manufacturer downloads all the information and knows all the buses in the world, how they are performing. The manufacturer knows. We probably don't know, but the manufacturer knows. Downloads the data from the computer and they know every single bus that they have sold. What is the operation and how it is doing. So they know, we probably don't know that much, but it's very important for the maintenance. And the last but not least is the traffic devices that we are also supporting through these different schemes, the traffic lights, the integrated transit control systems, which could be integrated with the bus operation. So I started saying that we can buy all these toys, all these gadgets, but the important thing is the service that they provide to us. And what I have seen, and this is something I have discussed with Prashant from our team, is that we dedicate in these contracts of provision a lot of space to define what is the gadget, but little space of what we expect out of the gadget. So we want many 400 pages of specifications and half a page or 1 page of what the gadget is delivering to me. So we need to change that logic, and it's more on the service that all these things provide than on the definition of the specifications. And that's, so in a way, this market has been dominated by the providers and not by we, the end users. And we need to change that game so we get what we need out of the providers. So those are my main messages. So we need to go to open source rather than proprietary. That's very important aspect of it. And we can get, if we do that, if we focus on the delivery and the services, we can get the benefits. Less kilometers run, better scheduled crews, better user satisfaction, and those are the main benefits we can get out of this ITS. So I see that a lot of progress on the time that I have been here in India, a lot of progress. The support from the Ministry of Urban Development has been key on advancing, but we still have a long way to go and understanding and progressing. Amit.
Thanks a lot, sir. Very informative. I think, and now I'll request Mr. Garg, who is the Managing Director of Delhi Transport Corporation, and I think with the new government coming in, there is a lot of renewed focus on buses and bus-based transport. And if I can quickly ask him to update, what is his organization involved in currently in terms of scaling buses and how we can further promote sustainable transport?
Thank you, Amit. Very good morning to all of you. As far as DTC is concerned, at present we have a fleet of around 4,300 buses, out of which 3,775 are low-floor buses, which were inducted during Commonwealth Games in 2009-2010. And 500 odd buses are our old standard floor buses, which have already covered their lifetime, around more than 12 years they have been on road, so they will be phased out during this current year. Basically, we are serving most of the rural areas through those buses because of the road conditions in the rural areas. Low floor buses are not, you can say, suitable for such areas. So at least we have a backup for those areas. In the near future, when we get more buses, we will be able to serve the rural areas with better buses also. So this is the position of our fleet as on date. As per Supreme Court directions, and which were reiterated by the Honorable High Court, Delhi should have at least 11,000 buses. Out of 11,000 buses, the government decided, a policy decision was taken that we should run 5,500 buses under DTC, which will be owned and operated by the DTC, and 5,500 buses which will be in the cluster system. These will be operated by Transport Department through DIMS. Total 17 clusters were formed, routes were identified, and DTC and DIMS were to run 50% buses on those routes. This is which the policy decision has been taken. Against that 5,500, we are running around 4,000 plus buses, and DIMS against that 5,500 are running around 1,460 buses as on date. So on the average, around 5,600 buses are on road as on date, both by DIMS and DTC. So as far as new initiatives are concerned, in the field of IT, 200 buses of DTC have been fitted with CCTV cameras. They are working fantastically well from last 1.5 years. That is basically for the security of the female passengers as well as other passengers also, I will say, when they travel in the bus. And we are in the process of fitting all the fleet with CCTV cameras in the near future. The tender is being prepared for that. The Dialogue Commission is helping us in formulating the specifications. Recently, we had proof of concept on 6 buses where we tried this IT, whether it was GPS or Wi-Fi and CCTV. These 3 components we have tested by running it on buses, 6 buses for around 3 to 4 months. We had demonstration, the buses were running on the routes, we had feedback from the people. Depending upon those feedback, now we are formulating our, you can say, specifications so that we can go for tendering, because there is a commitment of the government for women's security as well as to provide free Wi-Fi to the people in Delhi. So in that direction also we are moving to fulfill the commitment of the government to the people. As far as procurement of more buses is required, already 1,000 buses the government has said, we have already sent the proposal to the government. Provision has been made in this budget to procure 1,000 buses for DTC on own basis, and 1,000 more buses are being procured by DIMS, for which tenders had already been done, but we did not have the depot space. So now depot space is being created, for which 1,000 buses DIMS would be acquiring maybe by the end of this year. So this is how the total number of buses in Delhi roads will rise to say around 7,000 or so. After phasing out those 500 buses which we are running in Delhi. Then we had this experiment of odd even in Delhi. As you are aware, it was for 15 days from 1st January 16. Now second phase is coming up from 15th April to 30th April. We had very good experience of the first phase of, you can say, odd even. It was on 15th December that the DTC was asked to register more private buses so that they can run under the aegis of DTC. We made them payments as DIMS was making payments to the buses which they have in their cluster system. We were able to register around 300 buses, but actually on an average around 1,250 buses were on road during those 15 days when odd even was there. Our buses, which we generally outshed 92% in the morning and 90% in the evening, during that period we were able to outshed our low floor buses around 97% during that period. That was the achievement. All our teams, whether it was service provider, let me tell you, DTC has a fleet which runs on CNG. The whole fleet runs on CNG as per directions of the Honorable Supreme Court. I think it is the largest fleet in the world which is running on CNG in Delhi. And it has peculiar problems of maintenance. As compared to diesel buses, these are difficult to maintain. All maintenance things were done during the night hours. In the day, we run these buses in 2 shifts, 8 hours in the morning from say 5:30 to 1:30, then the second shift from 2 to 10 o'clock or so. So all maintenance work was done during the night. There were some depots where even 100% buses were outshedded in the morning because of this odd even. So that we provide alternative to those people who have to leave their cars behind while going to work. And we were quite successful in this. It was appreciated by people like anything. It was appreciated by media also. All our senior officers were on road during those odd even days. We ensured there is no bunching of buses. There is no, you can say, rush of people at any bus stop. Wherever they found such things, they were able to manage with the buses available with us by curtailing their routes or by rediverting their routes. It was total dynamic, you can say, operations during those 15 days, through which we were able to give comfortable ride in the buses to the passengers. There was increase in the ridership during those 15 days. I have some data with me. We have compared with November and December 15. During November, average number of buses on road, it was 3,681. And in December, for DTC only, it was 3,712. But during this odd even, the average of DTC buses on road was 3,972. And we had engaged private operator buses, around 1,236 buses on an average were run by DTC. So total buses run by DTC during that period was 5,208. Due to this, there was 40% increase in the number of buses as far as DTC is concerned. Average number of trips which we operated daily. During November, it was 31,671 trips. In December, it was 33,175. But in January, these 15 days, we were able to run 46,932 trips. So there was an increase of 41% trips during those 15 days. It was possible only because due to the more number of buses, then there were no traffic jams in the roads. So trip missing was reduced to like anything. The trip missing reduced by more than 54% during those 15 days. Our drivers were so happy, they were able to, you can say, complete their number of kilometers scheduled for them. There was no tension while driving because of very lesser congestion on the roads. So that experience our drivers miss, and they say it should continue forever. So as far as ridership is concerned, in the month of November, we were able to carry the earnings. We were earning around 2.15 crores in the month of November per day. In December, it was 2.18 crores. But during odd even, we were able to earn 2.47 crores daily. So there was an increase of 13% in our earnings as far as the running of buses is concerned. Now the ridership, The ridership was, in the month of November, it was 35.33 lakhs per day. In the month of December, it was 35.78 lakhs per day. During odd even, we were able to carry 38.37 lakh people per day. So there was increase of around 7% number of passengers carried in the DTC buses and the private operator buses. So cancellation, as I already told you, around 54% lesser number of trips were cancelled during this time. In the month of November, daily trips cancelled were more than 5,400. In December, it was 4,000, but during odd even, it was 1,800 only. So that was the impact of this. So with all this, you can say now we are going for automatic fare collection machines also. Already trial we are having on 200 buses. We are hoping within this year we will be able to have this automatic fare collection system where we will be integrating it with Delhi Metro and DIMS also, so that there is single mobility card for the bus users and metro users in Delhi. By the end of this year, we are hoping to provide seamless travel to the passengers in Delhi. So these are some of the, you can say, basics about DTC which we are doing by making use of IT solutions. As rightly pointed out, we should know what is our requirement, and only those things we should procure for the corporations or for the organizations. We should not just, I agree with him, we should not go with this, it seems to be very good, let us have it, and then don't know how to use it. We should have only those things which are actually required, and we will drive benefit, and the public will drive benefit out of that. I totally agree with him. Thank you very much for giving opportunity to interact with you all. Thank you, WRI. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I think this whole odd experiment, odd even experiment is something which is very unique learning from DTC compared to the rest of the STUs which are here. Quickly, this last comment, Ravi, you've been, first of all, thanks a lot for supporting this conference. What do you expect from this, and what do you think can be way forward for the bus company?
Thanks, Amit. A lot of people might not know Shakti. It is okay. Let's take a minute to introduce Shakti. So Shakti Foundation supports policy advocacy, research and technical assistance on sustainable power and sustainable transport systems in the country. So we have been working with, so public transport has been an important vertical within the Shakti transport program, and we have been working with STUs on multiple initiatives, including bus terminal designs, depot designs, BRTs. So, and even in the future, we look forward to working with you. So, this is a good opportunity for us to interact with you as well and get the feedback. So, on ITS, I think ITS is used as this blanket statement, but that has many subcomponents. A lot of focus is given on vehicle tracking devices, which is good. But in addition to that, there are many other applications of ITS. There is ticketing, there is also the depot management, a lot of other things, and STUs are actually hiring different vendors for different things, and in fact, it's not as if they don't know what to expect. They are having too much information with them. There are these huge sheets of MIS reports that come in, and also the information needs to, there's something called business intelligence. So different levels of people need different information. The depot manager, the area controller, and the head of DTC, Mr. So they need different sets of information. Right now that screening is not happening. So I think we should have people to look at that. And again, it's different across different cities. So there are good initiatives taken up. DIMS has a very good contract management system. BEST has a very good crew scheduling optimization. ABS and ABS-RTC, GAS-RTC, passenger information systems. So, and they have their own priorities, which is okay, but there are a lot of smaller cities. When ASRTO asks for data as per their annual report, 32 STUs don't even report their data. So they are at that level. And then when we go and give a vehicle tracking device, it's just a dot that moves on the map, but that doesn't really help the operations. So basically my expectation is to learn on the priorities. So we are, as consultants or vendors, we have our own priorities. We suggest something because we know it, whereas the operators want something else which is not given by the technology operators. The matching is something the forums like this can help. And so that's the key takeaway for me for here. And through SQs, I request you to approach Shakti Foundation if you need any support on some of these technical assistance, which we can help. And another key point that Mr. Sinha has raised is this the updation of technology that happens every 2 or 3 years. So I think it is very important for us to develop these key performance indicators. So irrespective of what technology you use, whether it is cloud-based or server-based, you have big control rooms, you do whatever you want, but I need these 5 things. What is my ridership, what is my revenue, what is the on-time performance and things like that. I think once we have the KPIs, we need to identify that by discussing with all the STUs, and then we can give that to the vendors and they can do whatever they want and then deliver this.
Thanks a lot. So quickly we have sketched we are kind of running behind schedule. So I would now invite you to join us for tea, and that is where you can also able to interact with the speakers, and then the next session will start at 11:30 sharp. So please join us for tea and interacting with the speakers.